The wedding ring hit the marble countertop with a sharp ping that cut through my soul like a knife through butter. 20 years of marriage, reduced to 14 carats of white gold spinning lazily next to Olivia's designer purse. Before we dive deeper into the story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It doesn't match my dress, she said, not even looking at me as she adjusted her earrings in the hallway mirror. The black cocktail dress hugged her 40-year-old figure like it was painted on, and I had to admit, she looked stunning. Too stunning for a corporate fashion event, if you asked me. Since when do you care about matching jewelry? I asked, trying to keep my voice casual while my gut twisted into knots. You wore that ring to our anniversary dinner last month with the exact same dress? Olivia's reflection met my eyes in the mirror, and for just a split second, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt? Annoyance? Fear? Then it was gone, replaced by that practiced smile she used on difficult clients. Things change, Daniel. People evolve. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. Don't wait up. These industry events run late. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving me alone in our brownstone with nothing but the echo of her heels on the hardwood and that damn ring still spinning on the counter. I picked it up, feeling its familiar weight. The inscription inside was barely visible after 2 decades. Forever yours, D. Forever. What a joke. I'm Daniel Reid, 45 years old, CEO of a mid-sized tech company that specializes in data analytics. I've built my career on reading patterns, spotting inconsistencies, and finding the truth hidden in numbers. So when my wife of 20 years started coming home late, taking mysterious phone calls, and removing her wedding ring for fashion events, well, let's just say the data was painting a pretty clear picture. The past month had been a masterclass in suspicious behavior. Olivia claimed she was working late on the merger between her fashion company and some luxury brand conglomerate, but her credit card statements told a different story. 5-star restaurants I'd never been to, hotel charges for rooms that cost more than most people's rent, and then there were the receipts I'd found in her coat pocket, receipts from a men's clothing store, expensive cologne, a watch that cost more than my car payment. I walked to my home office and pulled out the file I'd been building. Yes, a file. Call me paranoid, but 20 years in the tech industry teaches you to document everything. Photos of receipts, screenshots of her location data from our shared family plan, even audio recordings of her work calls that I'd accidentally captured on my phone when she thought I was sleeping. The evidence was damning, but I needed more. I needed absolute proof before I made my move. My phone buzzed with a text from Harper, my executive assistant at the company. Harper Williams was 28, sharp as a tack, and had been with me for 3 years. She was the kind of employee who anticipated problems before they happened and solved them before I even knew they existed. Working late tonight. Need anything from the office? Her text read. I smiled. Harper always seemed to know when I needed a distraction. Actually, yes. Can you pull the client entertainment reports for Meridian Fashion? Cross-reference with hotel bookings, restaurant charges, anything that seems unusual. On it. Should I be concerned about something specific? Just due diligence. Thanks, Harper. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, finally. Daniel, I hope you know you can trust me with anything. Anything at all. That was Harper, always reading between the lines, always one step ahead. It's what made her invaluable at work, and right now, it might make her invaluable at home too. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and settled into my leather chair. Outside, the city hummed with its usual evening energy, but inside our brownstone, everything felt different. The photos on the mantel seemed to mock me. Our wedding day, vacations, anniversary dinners, all those moments when I thought we were building something permanent. My neighbor Evelyn knocked on the door around 9:30. Evelyn Patterson was 73 years old and knew everything that happened within a 6-block radius. She claimed it was because she was a light sleeper and her bedroom faced the street, but I suspected she had a network of informants that would make the CIA jealous. Daniel, dear, I hope you don't mind me stopping by, she said, holding a plate of cookies. I baked too many again. Of course not, Evelyn. Come in. I led her to the kitchen, where she immediately noticed the wedding ring still sitting on the counter. Oh my, she said, her eyes widening. Is everything all right? Olivia forgot it when she left for her work event, I lied smoothly. Evelyn picked up the ring and examined it like a jeweler appraising a diamond. Such a beautiful ring. I remember when you proposed to her in the park. 21 years ago now, wasn't it? 21 years. The words tasted bitter in my mouth. You know, Daniel, I've lived in this neighborhood for 40 years. I've seen marriages come and go, watched couples grow together and grow apart. She set the ring down carefully. Sometimes the signs are obvious to everyone except the people living them. I studied her face. What kind of signs? Well, take the Hendersons 3 doors down. Beautiful couple, seemed perfect together. But then Mrs. Henderson started taking those evening yoga classes 3 times a week, except the yoga studio closed at 7, and she never came home until after 10. Evelyn shook her head sadly. Turned out the yoga instructor was teaching her more than just downward dog, if you catch my meaning. I see. Or the Martins across the street. He started working late every Tuesday and Thursday, claimed it was a new project, but his office building was dark every time I walked past it on my evening constitutional. She patted my hand gently. The truth has a way of coming out, dear. It always does. After Evelyn left, I sat in my kitchen staring at that ring and thinking about patterns. In data analysis, we call it anomaly detection, identifying data points that deviate significantly from expected behavior. Olivia's behavior over the past month was full of anomalies, and they were all pointing in the same direction. My phone rang at 11:15. Olivia. Hey, sweetheart, she said, but her voice sounded strained, breathless. The event's running really late. I'm going to stay at Sasha's tonight rather than drive home. You know how these fashion people are. They party until dawn. Sasha Martinez was Olivia's best friend and business partner, a sharp-tongued woman who ran their PR department and had never liked me. She thought Olivia had married beneath her station, and she wasn't subtle about it. Sure, I said. Drive safe. Love you, she said, but it sounded rehearsed, like she was reading from a script. Love you too. But as I hung up, I was already opening the location app on my phone. Our family plan included location sharing, something we'd set up years ago for safety and convenience. According to the GPS, Olivia's phone was at the Orion Hotel downtown, not at Sasha's apartment in the suburbs. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door. It was time to stop analyzing the data and start collecting some primary source material. The Orion Hotel was a 5-star establishment in the heart of the financial district, the kind of place where tech executives and fashion moguls went to see and be seen. I parked across the street and waited, feeling like a private investigator in a bad movie. But this wasn't fiction. This was my life unraveling in real time. At 11:47 p.m., I saw her. Olivia walked out of the hotel lobby, but she wasn't alone. The man beside her was tall, well-dressed, with the kind of confident swagger that screamed money and power. I recognized him immediately, Marcus Lane, the executive vice president of Luxe Brands International, the company that was supposedly merging with Olivia's fashion house. They stood under the hotel's awning, and I watched as Marcus pulled Olivia close and kissed her. Not a friendly peck on the cheek or a professional goodbye. A real kiss, passionate and intimate, the kind of kiss that spoke of familiarity and desire. I took out my phone and started recording. The camera wasn't great in low light, but it was good enough to capture what I was seeing. Marcus handed Olivia something, an envelope or small package, and she tucked it into her purse. They talked for another few minutes, their body language comfortable and intimate, like they'd done this dance many times before. When they'd finally separated, Marcus headed toward the valet stand while Olivia walked in the opposite direction, toward the parking garage. I followed her at a distance, watching as she got into her BMW and drove away. But instead of heading toward Sasha's apartment, she took the highway toward home. I beat her there by 10 minutes, just enough time to delete the location app from my phone and pretend I'd been asleep. When she crept into our bedroom at 12:30 a.m., I kept my breathing steady and even, playing the part of the oblivious husband. "Daniel?" she whispered. I didn't respond, and after a moment, I heard her moving around the room, getting undressed, going through her nighttime routine. When she finally slipped into bed beside me, she smelled like expensive cologne and guilt. The next morning, I woke up to find Olivia already gone. A note on the kitchen counter explained that she had an early meeting and would be working late again. The wedding ring was still sitting where she'd left it the night before, but now it looked different to me. Not like a forgotten accessory, but like a discarded symbol of everything we'd once meant to each other. I picked up my phone and called Harper. "Good morning, Daniel. I have those reports you wanted. Should I bring them to your office?" "Actually, Harper, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Of course." "How long have you known about Olivia and Marcus Lane?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then quietly, "About 3 weeks. I wasn't sure how to tell you." "Tell me now. Everything." Harper arrived at my office 30 minutes later with a stack of files and a grim expression. She closed the door behind her and activated the white noise generator we used for confidential client meetings. Whatever she was about to tell me, she didn't want anyone else to hear it. "I should have said something sooner," she began, settling into the chair across from my desk. but I wasn't sure how much you knew, and I didn't want to be the one to. Harper, just tell me what you found. She opened the first file and spread several documents across my desk. Credit card statements, hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and what looked like a detailed timeline written in her precise handwriting. It started about 6 weeks ago. Olivia began using the company credit card for personal expenses, dinners, hotel rooms, gifts. At first, I thought maybe she was entertaining clients, but the amounts were excessive, and the locations didn't match any of our known business contacts. I studied the timeline. Dinner at Le Bernardin on a Tuesday night when Olivia told me she was working late. A suite at the Plaza Hotel on a Thursday afternoon when she claimed to be in meetings. Charges at Tiffany & Co., her mess, and several high-end men's stores. Then I started noticing the pattern, Harper continued. Every charge coincided with Marcus Lane's travel schedule. He'd be in town for merger meetings, and suddenly Olivia would have mysterious evening appointments. How do you know Marcus's travel schedule? Harper looked uncomfortable. I may have accessed Lux Brands' corporate calendar. Their IT security isn't as good as ours. Harper? I know. It was technically illegal. But Daniel, I've worked for you for 3 years. I've seen how you and Olivia interact at company events, how proud you are when you talk about her. I couldn't just sit back and watch this happen without giving you the information you needed to protect yourself. I leaned back in my chair, processing what she was telling me. What else? Last week, I overheard Olivia on a phone call in the lobby. She thought she was alone, but I was waiting for the elevator. She was talking to someone about you, Daniel, she said. Harper paused, clearly struggling with whether to continue. She said what? She said you were financially stable but emotionally unavailable, and that she'd outgrown the marriage. She also mentioned something about a post-nup agreement and how her lawyer thought she could get more in a divorce than she'd originally expected. The words hit me like a physical blow. 20 years of marriage, and she was already calculating her exit strategy with her lawyer. There's more, Harper said softly. She pulled out another file, this one thicker than the others. I've been monitoring social media, gossip blogs, industry forums. Olivia and Marcus aren't being as discreet as they think they are. She showed me screenshots from Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Photos of Olivia at industry events, always with Marcus somewhere in the background. Comments from mutual acquaintances that seemed innocent on the surface but took on new meaning when viewed through the lens of an affair. A particularly damning post from Sasha Martinez showing Olivia and Marcus at a charity gala 3 weeks ago, standing close together, both of them tagged with heart emojis. The fashion industry is incredibly gossipy, Harper explained. People are already talking. Sasha's been posting cryptic messages about following your heart and life being too short for settling. Some of Olivia's colleagues have been making jokes about her merger meetings with Marcus. I felt a cold rage building in my chest. Not only was my wife cheating on me, but she was doing it so publicly that it had become office gossip. The humiliation was almost worse than the betrayal. What do you recommend? I asked. Harper pulled out one final document, a legal brief she'd apparently prepared. I took the liberty of researching divorce law in our state. Given the evidence we have, and given that Olivia appears to be using marital assets to fund her affair, you're in a very strong position. But you need to act quickly before she has a chance to hide assets or establish a narrative that favors her. What kind of narrative? The scorned wife whose emotionally distant husband drove her into the arms of another man. Trust me, Daniel, I've seen Olivia work her magic on difficult clients. She's very good at making herself the victim in any situation. I stood up and walked to my office window, looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, my wife was probably meeting with her lover, planning their future together while calculating how much of my money she could take with her. I need you to do something for me, Harper, but I want you to know that you can say no. What I'm about to ask you to do goes well beyond your job description, and if you are not comfortable with it, I'll understand completely. What do you need? I need you to help me gather more evidence. I need documentation of every meeting, every dinner, every hotel room. I need to know exactly how long this has been going on and how much of our money she spent on her affair. But more than that, I need to know what their plan is. Are they just having fun, or are they planning a future together? Harper was quiet for a long moment, considering my request. Then she looked up at me with a determination I'd never seen before. Daniel, there's something else you should know. Something I haven't told you yet. What? This isn't Marcus's first affair with a married woman. I did some digging into his background, and there's a pattern. He targets successful women in unhappy marriages, usually women with money or business connections that could benefit him. 3 years ago, he had an affair with the CEO of a boutique hotel chain. 2 years before that, it was the wife of a real estate mogul. In both cases, the women left their husbands and then found themselves mysteriously cut out of business deals that Marcus had promised them. The pieces were starting to come together. You think he's using Olivia? I think he's using her to get inside information about the merger and probably to gain access to your company's client list and financial information. Think about it, Daniel. What does Marcus get out of a relationship with a married woman 20 miles away when he could have any single woman in the city? She was right. Marcus Lane wasn't the type of man who needed to pursue married women for companionship. He was young, successful, and from what I'd observed, quite charming. There had to be a business angle to his interest in Olivia. What do you need from me? Harper asked. Access to Olivia's calendar, her email if possible, and I need you to monitor Marcus's schedule. If they're meeting, I want to know when and where. I also need you to look into our company's security logs. See if Olivia has been accessing files she shouldn't have access to. Consider it done. But Daniel, what's your endgame here? Are you planning to confront them, file for divorce, try to save the marriage? I turned back to face her, and I could see in her expression that she already knew the answer. I'm going to destroy them both. Professionally, socially, financially. I'm going to make sure that when this is over, they both understand exactly what it costs to betray someone who trusted them. Harper nodded slowly. In that case, you're going to need more than just evidence of the affair. You're going to need to understand their weaknesses, their pressure points, their secrets. Everyone has secrets, Daniel. Even people who think they're untouchable. Can you find their secrets? I can find anything, Harper said with a smile that was both reassuring and slightly terrifying. That's what you pay me for. After Harper left, I sat alone in my office, staring at the evidence spread across my desk. 20 years of marriage, reduced to credit card statements and hotel receipts. But as I studied the timeline, I began to see opportunities instead of just betrayals. Olivia thought she was being clever, but she was making mistakes. Using the company credit card was sloppy. Meeting Marcus at high-profile hotels where they could be seen was arrogant. And involving Sasha in her deception was downright stupid. Sasha Martinez couldn't keep a secret if her life depended on it. I picked up my phone and dialed my lawyer, Angela Rodriguez. Angela had handled the legal work for my company for the past 5 years, and she was known for her aggressive tactics and her discretion. Daniel, good to hear from you. What can I do for you today? I need to discuss a personal matter, Angela. A divorce? I see. Are we talking about an amicable separation, or... We're talking about warfare. There was a pause, then Angela's voice took on a different tone, sharper and more focused. In that case, you'd better come to my office. And Daniel, bring everything you have. As I gathered the files Harper had prepared, my phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, Love you too. Have fun at your meeting. But as I hit send, I was already planning my next move. If Olivia wanted to play games, I was going to show her what it meant to play against a professional. The ring was still sitting on the kitchen counter when I got home that evening, exactly where she'd left it. I picked it up and read the inscription one more time. Forever yours, D. Then I dropped it into my desk drawer and locked it away. Some promises, once broken, can never be repaired, but they can be avenged. Angela Rodriguez's office occupied the top floor of a glass tower in the financial district, with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered a commanding view of the city. She was a woman who understood the power of intimidation through environment, and as I sat across from her mahogany desk, I could see why her opponents often settled rather than face her in court. Let me make sure I understand the situation, Angela said, reviewing the files I'd brought. Your wife is having an affair with a business partner, using marital assets to fund the relationship, and potentially sharing confidential business information. How long has this been going on? At least 6 weeks that we can prove, but probably longer. My assistant thinks it could be connected to the merger between Olivia's company and Marcus's. Angela made notes on a legal pad, her pen moving quickly across the paper. Tell me about your assets, joint accounts, property, business interests, retirement funds. I gave her a comprehensive overview of our financial situation. The brownstone was worth about $1.2 million, bought with money from my company's IPO 8 years ago. We had joint savings and investment accounts totaling roughly $800,000. My company was privately held but valued at approximately $15 million, though Olivia had no ownership stake. Her fashion company was worth maybe $2 million, but it was heavily leveraged and dependent on the merger with Marcus's company to remain solvent. Here's what concerns me, Angela said, tapping her pen against the desk. If Olivia is planning to file for divorce, she's probably already taken steps to protect her interests. Has she moved any money recently, opened new accounts, made any large purchases? Not that I know of, but I haven't been monitoring our accounts closely. I trusted her. That stops now. I want you to print out statements for every account, every credit card, every investment. Look for any unusual activity in the past 6 months. If she's been siphoning money or hiding assets, we need to find it before she has a chance to cover her tracks. Angela pulled out a thick folder and handed it to me. This is a comprehensive asset protection strategy. We're going to freeze joint accounts, secure your business interests, and document every penny she spent on this affair. In this state, adultery affects property division, especially when marital assets are used to support the relationship. What about the business angle? If Marcus is using Olivia to get inside information about my company or our clients. That's corporate espionage, and it could void any prenuptial agreements or settlement negotiations. Do you have evidence of information sharing? Not yet, but my assistant is working on it. Angela leaned back in her chair, studying me carefully. Daniel, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. What do you want the outcome of this to be? Do you want to punish Olivia and Marcus, or do you want to protect yourself and move on with your life? Both. That's what I was hoping you'd say. She smiled, and there was something predatory in her expression. Because I have some ideas that will accomplish both goals. Over the next hour, Angela outlined a strategy that was both brilliant and ruthless. Instead of confronting Olivia directly or filing for divorce immediately, we would build an airtight case while simultaneously undermining her relationship with Marcus and her position in the business community. The key is patience, Angela explained. Right now, Olivia thinks she holds all the cards. She believes you're oblivious to the affair, and she's probably planning to file for divorce on her terms, at a time that's advantageous to her. We're going to let her think that, while we systematically destroy her ability to do so. How? First, we're going to trace every dollar she spent on this affair and document it as dissipation of marital assets. Second, we're going to investigate the business relationship between her company and Marcus's, looking for any evidence of insider trading or corporate espionage. Third, we're going to quietly inform key people in the fashion industry about her unprofessional conduct. Won't that tip her off? Not if we're careful about how we do it. The fashion industry thrives on gossip, but it also values discretion and professionalism. If word gets out that Olivia is mixing business with pleasure, it could damage both her company's reputation and the merger deal. Angela handed me a business card. This is a private investigator I work with regularly. His name is David Chen, and he specializes in corporate investigations. I want you to meet with him tomorrow and give him everything you have. He'll be able to gather evidence that would be inadmissible if we obtained it ourselves. What about Harper? She's already been helping me gather information. Harper stays involved, but she needs to be careful. If Olivia suspects that your assistant is working against her, it could complicate things. Make sure Harper understands that everything she does needs to be documented and legally defensible. As I prepared to leave, Angela handed me one final document. This is a postnuptial agreement. It's designed to protect your business interests in case Olivia tries to claim ownership or access to your company's assets. I want you to present this to her as a routine legal update, something your business insurance requires. Will she sign it? If she's planning to leave you anyway, she might sign it just to avoid suspicion, and if she refuses, that tells us she's already been talking to a lawyer about her options. I left Angela's office feeling more in control than I had in weeks. For the first time since I'd discovered the affair, I had a plan that went beyond just gathering evidence. I was going to systematically dismantle everything Olivia and Marcus had built together, and I was going to do it so carefully that they wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. My phone rang as I was walking to my car. Harper. Daniel, I have news, good news, and bad news. Give me the bad news first. Olivia accessed your company's client database yesterday afternoon. She downloaded contact information for our top 50 clients, including their personal email addresses and phone numbers. The implications hit me immediately. She's sharing our client list with Marcus. That's what I think. The good news is that I have logs of exactly what she accessed and when. If we can prove she shared that information with Marcus or Lux Brands, it's a clear violation of her confidentiality agreement and potentially criminal. What else? I've been monitoring Marcus's calendar, and he has a meeting tomorrow with the CEO of Hartwell Industries. Hartwell is one of our biggest clients, and according to the calendar entry, the meeting is about potential synergies between Lux Brands and Hartwell's retail operations. Hartwell Industries was indeed one of our most important clients. We'd been working with them for 3 years, providing data analytics for their retail operations. If Marcus was trying to poach them using information Olivia had provided, it would be devastating to my company and potentially illegal. Harper, I need you to do something, and it's going to require you to bend some rules. I'm listening. I need you to monitor Marcus's communications. Email, phone calls, text messages if possible. I need to know exactly what information he's sharing with potential clients and where that information is coming from. That's going to require some creative IT work. Can you do it? Yes, but Daniel, if I get caught, it could mean criminal charges for both of us. I thought about Olivia sitting in our kitchen, casually removing her wedding ring like it meant nothing. I thought about Marcus kissing her under the hotel awning, confident that he was untouchable. I thought about 20 years of marriage being reduced to a business transaction. Harper, I need to know how far you're willing to go with this, because what I'm planning isn't just about gathering evidence anymore. It's about making sure they both pay for what they've done. There was a long pause. Then Harper's voice came back, steady and determined. All the way, Daniel. I'm willing to go all the way. Why? You don't owe me anything beyond your job description. Another pause. Because 3 years ago, when I was going through my divorce, you gave me time off to deal with court dates and custody hearings. You never asked questions, never made me feel like my personal problems were affecting my work. You treated me like a human being, not just an employee. Olivia, on the other hand, has always treated me like I was invisible, like I was beneath her notice. I hadn't known about Harper's divorce. She'd never mentioned it, and I'd never pried into her personal life. There's something else, Harper continued. Last year, at the company Christmas party, Olivia had too much to drink. She cornered me in the bathroom and told me that she thought you were wasting your potential on small-time employees like me. She said successful men needed to surround themselves with a better class of people. The words stung, but they didn't surprise me. Olivia had always been status-conscious, always concerned with appearances and social climbing. I'd thought it was just harmless ambition, but apparently it went deeper than that. So, yes, Daniel, I'm willing to go all the way. Because people like Olivia and Marcus think they can use people like us and throw us away when we're no longer useful. It's time they learned that we're not as powerless as they think. That evening, I sat in my home office staring at the post-nuptial agreement Angela had prepared. It was a masterpiece of legal language, designed to look routine while actually protecting every asset I'd worked 20 years to build. The question was whether Olivia would sign it and what her reaction would tell me about her plans. I heard her key in the front door at 11:30 p.m. She called out a greeting, but I didn't respond. A few minutes later, she appeared in the doorway of my office, still wearing her coat. Working late? She asked. Business insurance requires some updated legal documents. Nothing exciting. I handed her the post-nuptial agreement. My lawyer needs both our signatures. Olivia glanced at the document without really reading it. What kind of legal documents? Asset protection stuff. Apparently, if something happens to the company, we need to make sure our personal assets are shielded from any potential lawsuits. She nodded absently, clearly distracted. I'll look at it tomorrow. I'm exhausted. How was your evening? Long. Boring. You know how these industry events are. She kissed my forehead, a gesture that felt mechanical and cold. I'm going to bed. After she left, I opened my laptop and began going through our financial records, looking for the patterns Angela had warned me about. It didn't take long to find them. Over the past 2 months, Olivia had made several large cash withdrawals from our joint savings account. She'd also opened a new credit card that I hadn't known about, with a balance of nearly $15,000. But the most damning evidence was in her email, which I still had access to from our shared computer. Buried in her sent folder was a message to Marcus from 3 weeks ago. D is completely clueless. He has no idea about us, and he's so focused on work that he barely notices what I'm doing. The merger should go through without any complications from his end. Another email, sent just 2 days ago. Attached is the client list you requested. These are his biggest accounts. If you can convert even half of them, it would cripple his business and make you look like a genius to your board. I printed both emails and added them to the growing file of evidence. Then I composed a message to Harper. Tomorrow, we go on the offensive. The wedding ring was still in my desk drawer, and as I locked the office for the night, I realized I hadn't thought about it once all day. Some symbols lose their power when the reality they represent is revealed to be a lie, but some symbols can be repurposed, transformed from tokens of love into weapons of war. It was time to show Olivia and Marcus what happened when they underestimated the quiet man who'd been watching from the shadows. The next morning, I woke up to find Olivia already gone, and the post-nuptial agreement sitting on the kitchen counter unsigned. A sticky note attached to the front page read, "Looks complicated. Need to have my lawyer review it first." Oh. That told me everything I needed to know. Olivia had indeed been talking to a lawyer, and she was planning her exit strategy. The only question now was timing, hers versus mine. I called Harper while driving to the office. Status report. I've been busy. Marcus sent 3 emails to potential clients overnight. all of them companies on the list Olivia provided. He's positioning himself as having inside knowledge of their operational challenges and claiming he can provide better solutions than their current vendors. Which clients? Hartwell Industries, Morrison Retail Group, and Blackstone Fashion. Combined, those three accounts represent about 40% of our annual revenue. The scope of their betrayal was becoming clear. This wasn't just a personal affair. It was a coordinated business attack designed to destroy my company while elevating Marcus's position at Lux Brands. What about the private investigator Angela recommended? David Chen? I met with him at 6 this morning. He's already started surveillance on both Marcus and Olivia. He'll have preliminary findings by this afternoon. I pulled into my parking space and sat in the car for a moment, processing the information. Harper, I need you to do something that might seem counterintuitive. I want you to schedule a lunch meeting with Sasha Martinez. Olivia's friend? Why? Because Sasha can't keep a secret, and she loves to gossip. If we feed her the right information, she'll spread it throughout the fashion industry without realizing she's working for us. What kind of information? The truth, but selectively. Let her know that there are rumors about Olivia and Marcus, and that people in the business community are starting to talk. Make it sound like you're concerned about Olivia's reputation, not trying to damage it. That's brilliant. Sasha will panic and probably confront Olivia, which will make Olivia paranoid and more likely to make mistakes. Exactly. But Harper, you need to be subtle. Sasha has to believe that you're trying to help Olivia, not hurt her. I spent the morning in client meetings, acting like everything was normal while my world was systematically being dismantled behind the scenes. But I'd learned something important in 20 years of business. The best defense is often a good offense, and I was about to go on the attack. At noon, I received a call from David Chen, the private investigator. Mr. Reid, I have some interesting findings. Can we meet? My office in 30 minutes. David Chen was not what I'd expected. Instead of the grizzled ex-cop stereotype, he was a well-dressed man in his 40s who looked more like an accountant than a private investigator. But his reputation spoke for itself, and the file he brought to my office was comprehensive and damning. Your wife and Marcus Lane have been meeting regularly for approximately 2 months, he began, spreading surveillance photos across my desk. Hotel meetings, restaurant dinners, and what appears to be at least one weekend getaway to a resort in the Hamptons. The photos were clear and professionally shot. Olivia and Marcus entering hotels together, kissing in restaurant booths, walking hand in hand through the resort grounds. But it was the financial documentation that really caught my attention. Marcus has been paying for most of their activities, David continued. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts, even the weekend getaway. But here's what's interesting. He's been billing many of these expenses to Lux Brands as client entertainment and merger-related business expenses. So he's using company money to fund his affair with my wife? That's exactly what he's doing. And if his company knew about it, it would likely result in his termination and potential criminal charges for expense fraud. David handed me another set of documents. I also investigated Marcus's background more thoroughly. This is his third affair with a married woman in a business context. In both previous cases, the women ended up divorced and financially damaged, while Marcus used the relationships to advance his career. What happened to the other women? The hotel chain CEO lost her company in the divorce and was blacklisted from the industry after Marcus leaked confidential information about her business practices. The real estate mogul's wife lost most of her assets when Marcus convinced her to invest in a development project that turned out to be fraudulent. The pattern was clear. Marcus was a predator who targeted successful women, used them for business advantage, and then destroyed them when they were no longer useful. Olivia thought she was playing a sophisticated game, but she was actually being played by a master manipulator. What about Olivia's activities? She's been more careful, but not careful enough. I have evidence of her accessing your company's confidential files and meeting with several of your clients without your knowledge. Yesterday, she had lunch with the CEO of Morrison Retail Group, supposedly to discuss fashion industry trends. Morrison was one of our oldest clients, and their CEO, Patricia Morrison, was someone I'd worked with personally for 5 years. If Olivia was trying to turn Patricia against my company, it was a direct attack on relationships I'd spent years building. David, I need you to expand your investigation. I want to know everything about Marcus's business practices, his financial situation, his personal relationships, his weaknesses. If he's done this before, there might be other victims who would be willing to testify about his pattern of behavior. Already on it. I should have a comprehensive report by the end of the week. After David left, I sat in my office, staring at the surveillance photos. The woman in the pictures looked like my wife, but she was someone I didn't recognize. The way she looked at Marcus, the intimacy of their body language, the obvious pleasure she took in their secret meetings, It was like seeing a stranger wearing Olivia's face. Harper knocked on my door at 2 p.m. "How did lunch with Sasha go?" She grinned. "Better than I hoped. Sasha is completely panicked. Apparently she's been covering for Olivia's affair, but she had no idea that people in the industry were starting to talk. She's terrified that the scandal will damage her own reputation and business prospects." "What did you tell her?" "That I'd heard rumors at a recent industry conference, and that people were starting to question whether the merger between Olivia's company and Lux Brands was based on business merit or personal relationships. I also mentioned that some people were wondering whether confidential information was being shared inappropriately." "How did she react?" "She went completely white and started asking specific questions about who was talking and what they were saying. I told her I didn't know details, but that she might want to warn Olivia to be more discreet." "Perfect. Sasha will definitely confront Olivia, which will make Olivia paranoid and more likely to make mistakes." Harper sat down across from my desk, her expression serious. "Daniel, I need to tell you something. This morning, I intercepted a phone call between Olivia and her lawyer. They're planning to file for divorce next week, right after the merger between her company and Lux Brands is finalized." The timeline made sense. Once the merger was complete, Olivia's company would be worth significantly more, which would increase her settlement in a divorce. She was planning to time her exit to maximize her financial gain while minimizing the damage to her business interests. "What else did you hear?" "Her lawyer is advising her to claim that you were emotionally abusive and that the marriage has been over for years. They're going to paint her affair as the result of your neglect and mistreatment." The audacity was breathtaking. Not only was Olivia planning to leave me for her lover, but she was going to rewrite the history of our marriage to make me the villain in her story. "Harper, it's time to accelerate our timeline. I want you to contact every major gossip blog and fashion industry publication. Feed them information about Olivia and Marcus, but make it look like it's coming from multiple sources." "What kind of information?" "Start with the basics, that they're having an affair and using company resources to fund it. Then escalate to the business implications, that confidential information is being shared, that the merger might be based on personal relationships rather than business merit, that clients are being poached using insider information. That could destroy both their careers." "That's the point. They wanted to play in the big leagues, Harper. Time to show them what happens when you play against professionals." My phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Working late again tonight. Important merger meetings. Don't wait up." But according to Marcus's calendar, which Harper had been monitoring, he was supposed to be in Chicago for a conference. Either Olivia was lying about her plans, or Marcus was lying about his. I forwarded the text to David Chen with a note. "I'd track her tonight. I want to know exactly where she goes and who she meets with." Then I called Angela Rodriguez. "It's time to file the papers." "Are you sure? Once we file for divorce, there's no going back." "I'm sure, but I want to time it perfectly. File the papers tomorrow morning, but don't serve them until Friday afternoon. I want Olivia to have the worst possible weekend to think about what she's done." "What about asset protection?" "Freeze everything, joint accounts, credit cards, investment portfolios. I want her to discover that her financial world has collapsed at the same time she realizes her personal world is falling apart." After I hung up, I sat in my office looking out at the city skyline. Somewhere out there, Olivia was probably meeting with Marcus, planning their future together while systematically destroying mine. But they had made a critical error. They had underestimated their opponent. In data analytics, we have a concept called the network effect. It's the idea that the value of a network increases exponentially as more nodes are added to it. Over 20 years, I had built a network of business relationships, client connections, and industry contacts that was far more extensive and powerful than either Olivia or Marcus realized. They were about to discover that when you attack someone's network, the network fights back. And my network was about to go to war. I picked up my phone and started making calls. It was time to activate every relationship, every favor owed, every connection I'd built over 2 decades in business. By the time I was finished, Olivia and Marcus would understand that they hadn't just betrayed a husband and a business partner. They had declared war on an entire ecosystem that was about to systematically destroy everything they had worked to build. The wedding ring was still locked in my desk drawer, but I no longer thought of it as a symbol of broken promises. Now it was evidence of their betrayal, and soon it would be a trophy of their defeat. The game was about to begin in earnest, and I intended to win. Friday afternoon arrived with the precision of a Swiss watch, and everything was falling into place exactly as I had planned. Harper knocked on my office door at 3:47 p.m. with an expression that was equal parts excitement and apprehension. "It's done," she said, closing the door behind her. "The divorce papers have been served, the accounts are frozen, and the first wave of industry gossip has hit social media." I leaned back in my chair, feeling a satisfaction that was both profound and slightly terrifying. "Show me." Harper opened her laptop and pulled up several browser tabs. The first was Fashion Insider, a popular industry blog known for its ruthless coverage of scandals and corporate drama. The headline read, "Merger or Affair. Luxury brand executive's relationship with fashion CEO raises ethics questions." The article was carefully written to avoid direct accusations while heavily implying impropriety. It mentioned sources close to the situation who were concerned about the mixing of business and personal relationships in the high-stakes merger between Olivia's company and Luxe Brands. It also included quotes from unnamed industry insiders questioning whether confidential information had been shared inappropriately. "This is just the beginning," Harper said, clicking to another tab. StyleWatch picked up the story an hour ago, and Business Fashion is running a piece on Monday about ethics in corporate mergers. The second article was more direct, featuring photos of Olivia and Marcus at various industry events with captions that highlighted their close working relationship. The images had been carefully selected to show them in intimate conversation, standing closer than typical business partners with body language that suggested familiarity beyond professional interaction. What about the financial angle? Even better, I leaked information about Marcus using company funds for personal expenses to a contact at the Wall Street Journal. They're investigating Luxe Brand's expense policies and specifically looking at Marcus's entertainment and travel costs. My phone rang. Angela Rodriguez. "Daniel, I have news. Olivia's reaction to being served was explosive." "Tell me everything." "She showed up at my office an hour ago, screaming about illegal asset freezing and demanding that I reverse everything immediately. When I explained that the freeze was entirely legal given the evidence of asset dissipation, she threatened to sue me personally." "What did you tell her?" "I told her that if she wanted to discuss settlement terms, she should have her lawyer contact me. Then I had security escort her out of the building." I could picture Olivia's reaction perfectly. She had always believed that her charm and social connections made her untouchable. The reality that her actions had legal and financial consequences would be devastating to her self-image. "Angela, what's our position if she tries to fight this?" "Ironclusive. We have documented evidence of adultery, asset dissipation, corporate espionage, and breach of confidentiality agreements. Any competent judge will see that she caused the breakdown of the marriage through her own misconduct." "And the business implications?" "If we can prove that she shared your client information with Marcus, she could face criminal charges for corporate espionage. The confidentiality agreement she signed when you started your company specifically prohibits sharing client information with competitors." After hanging up with Angela, I opened my desk drawer and pulled out Olivia's wedding ring. 20 years of marriage, reduced to 14 carats of white gold, and a lifetime of regrets. But as I held it, I realized that regret was the wrong emotion. Relief was more accurate. Harper's laptop chimed with a new email notification. "It's from David Chen," she said, opening the message. "That he has an update on last night's surveillance." The email included several attachments, photos, and a detailed report of Olivia's activities the previous evening. Instead of attending merger meetings as she had claimed, Olivia had spent the evening at Marcus's apartment. But more importantly, David had captured photos of her leaving the building at 2 a.m., clearly distraught and crying. "Something went wrong," Harper observed, studying the photos. "Look at her body language. She's not leaving a romantic evening, she's fleeing from something." I called David Chen directly. "What happened last night?" From what I could observe, Ms. Reid arrived at Mr. Lane's apartment around 8 p.m. Everything seemed normal until about 1:30 a.m. when I heard raised voices through the window. The argument was loud enough that neighbors were looking out their windows. "Could you hear what they were arguing about?" "Some of it. Mr. Lane was angry about something related to timeline and exposure. Ms. Reid kept saying something about promises and what we agreed on. The argument ended with Mr. Lane telling her to leave, and she was visibly upset when she left the building." The pieces were falling into place. Marcus had probably learned about the industry gossip and realized that their affair was becoming public knowledge. As a serial manipulator, he would be primarily concerned with protecting his own reputation and career, even if it meant abandoning Olivia. "David, I need you to expand surveillance to include Marcus's other activities. I want to know if he's distancing himself from Olivia or if he's planning some kind of damage control." "Already on it. I'll have a full report by Monday morning." My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Meet me at Velvet Club at 8 p.m. Come alone." Oh. Velvet Club was an upscale cocktail lounge in the financial district, the kind of place where deals were made and secrets were shared. It was also very public, which meant Olivia was smart enough to choose a location where she couldn't be accused of threatening or manipulating me. I showed the text to Harper. What do you think? I think she's desperate and probably planning to try to negotiate. The question is whether she's acting on her own or if Marcus is pulling the strings. Only one way to find out. I arrived at Velvet Club 15 minutes early and chose a table in the back corner with clear sightlines to all entrances. The Friday evening crowd was typical for the financial district. Well-dressed professionals unwinding after a long week, the ambient noise of conversation and clinking glasses providing perfect cover for a private discussion. Olivia arrived exactly at 8 p.m., and I was struck by how different she looked. Gone was the confident, polished woman who had casually removed her wedding ring a week ago. This version of Olivia looked exhausted, stressed, and older than her 40 years. She sat down across from me without ceremony. You bastard! Hello to you too, Olivia. Do you have any idea what you've done? My reputation is ruined, my business is in jeopardy, and my personal life is destroyed. All because you couldn't handle the fact that our marriage was over. The audacity was remarkable. Even faced with overwhelming evidence of her betrayal, she was still trying to make me the villain in her story. Our marriage was over the moment you took off your wedding ring to meet your lover, I replied calmly. Everything that's happened since then has just been consequences. Marcus and I are in love, Daniel. What we have is real, and it's something you and I never had. I'm sorry if that hurts your ego, but you can't destroy people's lives just because your feelings are hurt. I pulled out my phone and showed her one of David Chen's surveillance photos, her and Marcus kissing outside the Orion Hotel. Is this what love looks like to you, Olivia? Sneaking around, using company money to fund your affair, stealing client information to help your boyfriend's business? Her face went pale. You had me followed? I had evidence gathered. Evidence that shows you've been systematically betraying me both personally and professionally for months. The client information was just corporate espionage, industrial theft, breach of confidentiality agreements. Take your pick of criminal charges. Olivia leaned back in her chair, and I could see her calculating her options. What do you want, Daniel? Money? A quiet divorce? I'm willing to be reasonable if you stop this media campaign against me. I want you to understand something, Olivia. This isn't about money or revenge or hurt feelings. This is about consequences. You made choices, and now you get to live with the results of those choices. Marcus says you're just trying to destroy the merger because you're jealous of his success. I laughed, and the sound was bitter even to my own ears. Is that what Marcus told you, that this is about business jealousy? Isn't it? I pulled out another photo, this one from David Chen's research into Marcus's background. It showed Marcus with the hotel chain CEO who had been his previous target, taken at a charity gala 2 years ago. The woman in the photo looked remarkably like Olivia, successful, confident, and completely unaware that she was being manipulated. This is Rebecca Hamilton, I said, sliding the photo across the table. She was the CEO of Prestige Hotels until Marcus convinced her to leave her husband and invest her divorce settlement in one of his development projects. The project was fraudulent, she lost everything, and Marcus moved on to his next target. Olivia stared at the photo, and I could see recognition dawning in her eyes. This is Jennifer Walsh, I continued, showing her another photo. Real estate mogul's wife, divorced her husband for Marcus, ended up bankrupt and blacklisted from the industry after Marcus leaked confidential information about her business practices. You're lying. I'm showing you documentation. Marcus Lane is a predator who targets successful women in unhappy marriages, uses them for business advantage, and then destroys them when they're no longer useful. You're not his girlfriend, Olivia. You're his mark. I could see her hands shaking as she looked at the photos. He loves me. He told me he's never felt this way about anyone before. I'm sure he told Rebecca and Jennifer the same thing, right up until the moment he threw them away. Olivia was quiet for a long moment, staring at the photos. When she finally looked up, there were tears in her eyes. Even if that's true, it doesn't change what you've done to me. My career is ruined, Daniel. The fashion industry is small, and gossip spreads fast. I'll never recover from this. You're right, I said, and for the first time in the conversation, I felt something approaching sympathy for her. Your career probably is ruined, but that's not my fault, Olivia. That's the consequence of your choices. So what happens now? I pulled out a document that Angela had prepared, a settlement agreement that was far more generous than Olivia deserved given her conduct. You sign this, we get divorced quietly, and you get to keep your company and enough money to start over somewhere else. You don't contest anything, you don't try to claim assets you're not entitled to, and you accept responsibility for the breakdown of our marriage. Olivia read through the document quickly. This is less than half of what I would have gotten in a normal divorce settlement. This isn't a normal divorce. This is a divorce where you committed adultery, stole confidential business information, and used marital assets to fund your affair. You're lucky I'm offering you anything at all." She was quiet for another long moment, then looked up at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Defeat. "What about Marcus? What about him? Are you going to destroy him too?" I thought about the Wall Street Journal investigation, the industry gossip that was already circulating, the evidence of expense fraud that would likely result in his termination from Lux Brands. "Marcus destroyed himself, Olivia. I just made sure people found out about it." She signed the settlement agreement without another word, her signature shaky and uncertain. As she handed the document back to me, she asked one final question. "Did you ever love me, Daniel? Even at the beginning?" "Yes," I said honestly. "I loved you for 20 years. Right up until the moment you took off your wedding ring and decided that our marriage was worth less than a dress that matched your lover's expectations." Olivia stood up to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I am sorry. Not about Marcus. I meant what I said about love. But I'm sorry about the way I handled things. You deserved better than that." "Yes," I agreed. "I did." After she left, I sat alone at the table, staring at the settlement agreement. It was over. 20 years of marriage, ended with a signature on a legal document in a crowded bar. But for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't expected to feel again. Hope. My phone buzzed with a text from Harper. "WSJ article goes live Monday morning. Marcus has been terminated from Lux Brands effective immediately. Merger deal is over." I finished my drink and walked out into the Friday night air. The city was alive with possibility, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was part of that possibility instead of just watching it from the sidelines. The wedding ring was still in my desk drawer at home, but I no longer thought about it as a symbol of failure. It was evidence of a chapter that had ended, making room for whatever came next. Some promises, once broken, can never be repaired, but some endings are actually beginnings in disguise. I walked home through the city streets, past couples holding hands and groups of friends heading out for the evening, and I realized that I was no longer the betrayed husband or the calculating avenger. I was just Daniel Reid, 45 years old, with a successful business and a life full of possibilities I hadn't even begun to explore. The ring was off, the gloves were off, and I was finally free.